mask ko pakado, phir bhi bolte rahe. Now, if you can see my screen, the way we will start our revision will be that we will do it through the syllabus, and if in between there are some more points I've discussed, we will discuss it. Okay. Now, our main focus of these classes will be to emphasize on P3 majorly. Yes, we at the end we can probably discuss P2 and P1, but major focus, let's focus on P3. Okay, so I'll directly go to the web authoring part so that we don't miss out any point as far as CI syllabus is concerned. Frankly, as far as web authoring is concerned, there aren't much advanced points. The only advanced points that you should work with are the advanced CSS examples, which I did probably share with you in the group. I'll share it again today. It's on my website as well. There's advanced CSS tags that you might have to create. उसके अलावा और कुछ चीज़ ऐसी नहीं आ सकती, वो आ सकती है. Okay, here we go, implementation. जी, web authoring के बाद हम spreadsheet करेंगे, उसके बाद फिर वो करेंगे, ठीक है? So we have this test data mode. Okay. Data analysis. Data analysis is your spreadsheet basically, but we are not doing spreadsheets. Web authoring. So as far as web authoring is concerned, we're going to start now. All of you can see I'm recording the lecture as well. Please, all of you quiet, concentrate. You can raise your hand if you have a question. Okay. So identify and describe the 3 web development layers. Again, I would emphasize on the fact that the video lecture that I did share with you probably a day or 2 days before, it was 1 hour lecture. Please go through it once again. It includes everything. Watch it once, twice, you will know everything from there as well. You should know that you have content layer, which is known as HTML, okay, where you add the content to web page. You have a behavior layer through which you add interactivity to a page, such as using JavaScripting. Okay, by interactive, what means when a web page talks to you, you fill up a form and it tells you that the fields that you've entered are right or wrong. The web page is talking to you. It's done through behavior layer. And then you have its presentation, which is done through CSS cascading style sheets. CSS basically helps you to add presentation to a web page. You get the point? Okay. So these are the 3 layers. A very common question that can come even in the practical, you should be aware of. Okay. It's very much advisable that you go through the chapter of web authoring from the book as well before the practical and the theory. Remember that. Okay. So whatever terminology is there, most of it you have discussed with me, but if there is something, probably you can revise it from there. So I would again insist from the book, as far as the practical chapters are concerned, you just go through them. Okay. Although, as far as spreadsheets is concerned, many of the functions you will not find in the book that you've covered with me. Okay. But still go through it. So I've explained this as well. Create a web page. I'll zoom in again so that all of you can actually see it. So use software tools to create the content layer of each of web page to meet the audience. Explain the purpose of head and body section of the web page. We have learned this again and again, that as far as the head is concerned, let me just not go really fast. Jo discuss karna, let me do it. You can quick point वही आ सकता है. But please concentration say you can make your notes. We don't have to time to revise again and again. You may बार-बार नहीं कर सकते. Get the point? So let's be honest. So as far as HTML is concerned, obviously if I add any content over here and if I select this content, I can assign it as H1, and you do know right away. Oh, sorry, I did not assign this. H2. Why is it not being assigned? Anyway, I'm not talking about that right now. All the content that you have on a web page, if you insert an image, if you insert a table, if you insert an embedded object, all of that will basically come in the content layer. Okay, within the body. Before the body, you have the head tag. That's your head tag. Head ends up over here, and your head is starting over here. You start with HTML. Actually, this all is extra. This all is extra. Dreamweaver just adds it on its own. We don't need to work with the meta tag. That's just the title. So this is what we have. The HTML, the head, the title, and the head. Now, if I simply save this file anywhere, and if I hit F12 to view in the browser, you will see is then I get untitled document. This is untitled document, which is the title. You see the title over here. If I change the title to my first web page, you will see the title in the browser window as well. Get the point? So we start with HTML and we end with HTML. The reason why we start with HTML is because we need to tell the browser that we are using a language known as hypertext markup language. The browser should know, because there are lots of languages online. You have ASP, PHP, CK scripting, lots of languages. So browsers have to be told that we are using HTML. That's the reason why we start with HTML, and that's the reason why we close with HTML. In HTML, you open a tag and you close a tag. You start with head tag, you close the head tag. Now, what is the head tag? From here till here, from here till here is the head. Beta, please concentrate. Please concentrate. Okay. I insist. We don't have enough time कि I can revise again. ठीक है? मेरे पास एक बार revise करने का time है. Yes, videos available है. अगर हमें एक opportunity मिल रही है तो let's cover up everything. So heads यहाँ से यहाँ तक है, and then we have the title inside the head. As you can see, this is the head, and inside the head I have the title. Is it not? Inside the head, the title is there. So if I open up the title, I close the title as well. If I open up the head, I close the head as well. So यहाँ से यहाँ तक मेरा head define हो गया, और inside the head I have the title. Get the point? And from here till here, the white portion is the bottom. There is no such thing as a footer. You have a footer in the table, but there is no such thing as a footer in a web page. So body means that whatever you define over here is इसके अंदर, इस दो इसके दरमियान में इधर, which that will be displayed as a content. So this is what we call the content. So JavaScripting है वो भी head के अंदर आती है most. Anyway, that's not our discussion. How to implement? Leave that. Okay. So is this clear what I have discussed? Let's go back. Okay. Explain the purpose of the head and the body section of the web page. You now clearly know, and you can state it why. Place appropriate elements in the head section of the web page, including page title, attached style sheets. Now, obviously, the elements that can come in your head tag are obviously the title, are your CSS file, and your JavaScript file. Three elements that can come. Even JavaScript behavior, like JavaScript be asked. So let's say if I could file new and let me, oh sorry, no, not this one. Let me go to file new CSS. Let me create one. Let me say file, and let me save it as on the desktop, and I'll name it as web. Okay, my.css. Obviously, the CSS file that you will have, that needs to be saved as a .css file. .css file, cascading style sheets. So I've saved this inside the web page. One of the most important beta. अच्छा इधर आप इधर you. Yeah, come here. Remember, honesty is the best policy. What do I mean by that? Better, sorry, I just forgot your name. Khadija just came to me right now and she said, "Sir, मेरा पीछे तैयार नहीं है. I'm not ready for it." मैं उल्टा खुश हुआ. और उसके ना तैयार होने पे भी खुश हुआ. Because she's realizing it and I can help her out and I will help her out. इसी तरह अगर आप सारे मुझे मैसेज करोगे, मुझे बताओगे कि सर you know what I think, so we should prepare, I will help you out. But let's say अगर आप मुझे बताते ही नहीं हो, आप realize ही नहीं करते कि how bad you are in P3, and you just realize it just 48 hours before RCI is, where do you stand? At least अभी realize करने का फायदा ये है कि हम इंशाल्लाह A star दे सकते हैं आपसे. You get my point? Okay. So goes to all of you. इतना ज़्यादा भी realize ना करो कि panic attack हो जाए आपको. वो भी जरूरत नहीं है. Balance रखना है आपको. But I know it has been a very, very different year for your batch, but that's the way we have to work. We have to do it. We don't have an option. We do have an option? I don't see any option. CA is not giving us an option. So we have to do it. Get the point? Okay, so let's get really serious now, please. The next 4 months आपके बहुत crucial है. We don't have time to do this. Get the point? Okay. Okay, so I've saved this file, और मैं इसी file को भी मैं save करूँगा in the same. So on the desktop, I have folder as web. याद रखना, making your folder, saving everything in a folder is very, very important. So, yeah, sorry, I will save this as index.html in the same folder. So, मैं again repeat कर रहा हूँ, every module that you work with should be in a folder. If you distribute your images, your CSS file, your HTML files in different folders, things are not going to work. You're not going to give your soft copy to the examiner, but still the evidence can be asked. Yes, better. Sorry, better.
Can you hear me?
You didn't get the. Oh yeah. No, sorry. Yes, Anam, you want to?
Sir, there was a paper in which they asked that can you generate the code for, let's suppose red is 20%, green is 80%, and like this. Can you show us how to do that in Photoshop?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat again? The volume was down. Just once more, please.
Sir, she's asking about the colors, the 70% red, green, and blue in Photoshop. If you could repeat that.
I will just explain. अच्छा, तो हम ये करेंगे कि मैं सिलेबस को जा रहा हूँ. In between अगर ना भी आया तो I will discuss with you, right? Okay. Let me go in a sequence. Okay. So we done this. Place appropriate elements in the head section of the web page. Okay. Explain the purpose of the head. हो गया. What needs to come? So obviously you know if I attach a style sheet, it will be attached inside the head. पता है आपको? As we do, I'll show you as well. Okay. Place appropriate elements in the body section of the web page. And obviously, this means images, tables, where they will be placed within the body tag. Explain why tables are used to structure elements of the web page. Well, tables tend to be one of the most important part while we develop a web page. There are two ways we can develop and design the content of the web page. One is the table. The second are the div tags, div tags. Okay, we don't study about the div tags over here in O levels, but there are two ways, and you can mention this in the exam: tables and div tags. Because if you want to place your content here and there in different places, how would you do it? It's not a word processing software. It's a web page. Has to be done by formatting the cells within a table. Okay, you can make a table, 4 rows, 5 columns. You can make them invisible. I will just proceed with that. Just insert table including table header, table row, and table data. बिल्कुल आ गया, and let's talk about it. You see, एक बार syllabus से करने का फायदा होगा कि we know कि हमारा ये तो हो गया ना, बाद में advance में कर लूँगा. Right? Okay. एक confidence level पे develop हो जाता है. इसका फायदा ये होता है. So over here, we have is if you come in on common and you remain in the common actually, you can add the table, and you can add a table, let's say by 3 by 3. That's the table width you can have. That's the table thickness that you can have. You can define the cell padding and the cell spacing as well. Cell padding is the space that you have within the content of the table and its boundary. Cell padding is the space that is between within the content and the boundary. The content or boundary के दरमियान जो space होता है, we call it the cell padding. Okay, you pad it. And cell spacing obviously is the space that you have that is between the cells. Okay, how far do you want the cells to be? I will just demonstrate that and I'll show that to you. Okay, so and then you have different ways. You can see over here is now if I use this option, left column header. If I use this option, it says top column header. If I use this option, then I have is left and top headers. Are you following me? Now, header does not mean headers are always supposed to be the first row. मेरा मतलब ये है कि if I define this, what will happen is you can see over here is that tr, this is tr and td, tr and th, sorry, tr. So the way we make a table is tr, td, you make a cell, and then if you add another td, you make another cell in front of it, and if you add another td, you add another cell in front of it, and so on and so. And if you keep on adding tr, you come to the next rows and rows. I think so you know this. So tr and td will help you to make the cells. Agree? Okay. Th is the same thing as td. For example, th is specifically used for table heading. कोई भी heading होगी ना, जैसे field names है, उनके लिए हेडिंग यूज करनी है तो उसके लिए हम th यूज करते हैं. So th is specifically there for heading. td is just for generalized content of the cell. Okay, so over here when I have used this option, उसने क्या किया है, उसने tr डाला and th डाल दिया because this is now my table heading. Then it added over here was td and td. Here it added another row and then made this the th, then td, then tr again, th, td, because this was defined. The first column that we have in our table was defined as table heading. Any problem with that? If I would have selected not this option, अच्छा हो सकता है हमारा आज का लेक्चर कल पे चला जाए, कुछ नहीं हो, हम during the हम चलो हो जाएगा अगर हमारा नेट से we are doing it and if we feel कि हमारा जो प्लान है हमारा प्रैक्टिकल का मैं डिस्कस कर लूँ because we should know it. मैंने आप लोगों से कहा है कि हमारे पास स्टडी टाइम है नेक्स्ट वीक तक, ठीक है, क्योंकि अगले वीक जो होगा उससे आगे ये जो वीक है इसमें मैंने कहा था ना आपका प्रैक्टिकल. हाँ, तो लेट्स से आई एम जस्ट डिस्कसिंग दिस विद यू. वी हैव अ क्लास टुमारो. ओके, वी हैव अ क्लास ऑन मंडे. मंडे को अगर आपको फील होता है, मंडे को नहीं, चलो कह लो हमें नेक्स्ट वेडनेसडे तक हमें फील होता है कि नहीं सर आई थिंक सो हमें ना एक दो और क्लास और चाहिए, इससे पहले हमारा काम खत्म नहीं होगा. हम ऐसा करेंगे इंशाल्लाह, हम सैटरडे को किसी वक्त एक लंबी क्लास रख लेंगे. You get my point, all of you? To cover up things, to cover up 2 hours or 3 hours. और जो पूरी तो हम संडे को भी रख लें, मगर I am there to help you out and I will do it. You get my point? But I want all of them to be there. Okay? Get my point? मैं ये नहीं चाह रहा कि मैं जल्दी बस एक बार रिवाइज करा दूं. If I'm discussing syllabus, let me discuss everything एक बार and एक सीक्वेंस चलते हैं, so that we don't have to come to a whole thing again and again. Do you agree with me? ऐसे करने से फायदा नहीं होगा. ठीक हो? जी बेटा.
It also comes with ETR.
ये मैं भी दिया रहा हूँ बेटा. I'm just coming there. देखो. Now if I make another table बेटा, so if I add over here is this option in which the th is at the top. ठीक है? Okay. So now what's happening is I have a tr, then I have th. मतलब ये सारे हैं, these are all my table heading. और उसके बाद second row add की है, the second row that I've added, उसमें this is td, then tr, td. So you get my point? How we are changing th? At times we have the th over here, at times we have th over here. Our third option क्या होगी? And you should know all this, please. अच्छा एक काम करेंगे हम आज, जो कुछ मैं पढ़ा रहा हूँ प्लीज अपने नोट डाउन कर रहे हो, एंड व्हेन यू गो होम कैन यू रिवाइज ऑल दिस प्रैक्टिकली. अगर आप ये कर लेते हो ना, हम प्रॉब्लम आएगी, वी विल नॉट हैव एनी प्रॉब्लम. हो ही नहीं सकता. प्रॉब्लम से तब आती है व्हेन यू बिकम ओवर कॉन्फिडेंट, नहीं मुझसे हो जाएगा, और एग्जाम में वो किस तरह करते हैं. जी बेटा, I'm giving you another example. ठीक है. Now what I'll do is I will add this one. अच्छा इसमें क्या है, can you see इस तरफ भी हेडिंग आ रही है, इस तरफ भी हेडिंग आ रही है. अच्छा can someone give me an example of a table heading? किस तरह कहाँ डिस्प्ले होती है, एक एग्जांपल दे दो. टेबल हेडिंग का मतलब क्या है, so that she gets it. Of table heading. Table नहीं बनाओ.
Any row or column of the table allocated to a title?
Absolutely. आपके टाइम टेबल में जो लिखा होता है सब्जेक्ट्स, वो टेबल हेडिंग में लिखे होते हैं, है ना? So कोई भी whenever you see any table जिसमें मेन फील्ड की हेडिंग्स होती हैं, they are basically headings. So we are learning how to design the table heading within your web page. So in the first case जो इसमें available है header के option, you see header, there is no header. I don't want any header, I just want to make a table. Second option में I have a header, but it's the first column. In this, the header is the topmost. We always assume that the header is always the first row. No, header is not always the first row. It depends on the situation. This case, if I press OK, you will see it's very different. So this is also a header, th, okay, tr, th, and th. और इसमें क्या है? ये भी है. tr पे है. The first is th. Can you see over here? इस tr में the first is table heading. Second पे आए, this is td. Then th, td. अच्छा, can I just give you one example से समझ में आ जाएगी? मैं CSS में आता हूँ और आप लोग को याद है, you will not have a problem. I'll define a new CSS tool. इधर मैं डिफाइन करता हूँ टैग, और इधर मैं बेटा डिफाइन करता हूँ, do you see th over here? Yeah, th, ठीक हो गया? ओके करते हैं, बैकग्राउंड th से कर देते हैं, let's say this color, apply. मैं create करता हूँ, I'll create another tag, and this time I'll create is the td, because right now what are we dealing with? th or td, that's it ना? हम और डील कर ही नहीं, बिल्कुल ठीक है. ओके किया?
TH refers to the table head and TD refers to the entire.
Table data, but TD is also used to insert the content in a cell. So TD stands for table data and table column. TD से column भी add हो जाती है और उसमें table data भी आ जाता है. Get my point? Every time you add a TD, you're adding column as well. Okay. So if मैं इसको कर देता हूँ, let's say yeah, apply. So let me just save it. Let me come here and somehow let me just attach, if it's in the same folder, no, absolutely, it's not the one. It should be on the desktop as web. Always make sure your desktop is organized. Okay. Do you see what happened? Did you see what happened? This was my TH. This was my TH and this was my TD. And is this not what I just defined over here? Is it clear now? That's how we integrate CSS with HTML, and this is the advantage. Okay, now what advantage do you see of doing this in CSS? If the examiner says you've done this, what is the advantage?
You do not have to again apply the same.
Absolutely, you get the point. We don't have to. Reusability is the point. We can reuse it as many times as we want. If I'm creating a website that has 1,000 pages, I just have to make a change in my CSS file. In all the 1,000 pages, the table will change. Otherwise, HTML itself is very tough time sticking off. How can you do it if you are managing a very large web portal? CSS has to be implemented. Is this clear, all of you? Anyone has a problem?
Sir, can you repeat the CSS rules, the new CSS rules?
The new CSS rule. Better it's 1.47. आप कर लो ना? Okay. I'm sorry बेटा, आपने क्या पूछा? The rule that I did was I came here, I went to tag. We will discuss classes. मैं tag पे आया और tag में आके whatever tag I wanted to define, td, th, I clicked on td and I pressed OK. And over here जो भी उसने कहा होगा हम उसको define करेंगे. Is this clear all of you? Any problem? Yes.
How did you open that window?
Yeah. Okay. You come into Windows, you will see the CSS Style option. Okay. If you don't see, come to Windows and you turn it on. CSS Styles. Once you do it at the very bottom, if you can see at the very bottom, let me just close this. Can you see it now? Do you see this? This is attached. This is new. So if you want to create a new CSS style, you click on this. You can define a new tag. If you have made a style sheet and you are in HTML, because obviously you will attach from HTML, you will attach a CSS file. You will not attach a CSS file to a CSS file, although some students do that. Isn't that quite weird thing? They try doing it. It's like, I cannot do it. It's not working. There's something wrong with your computer. No, it's not fair. And what's wrong is your concept. And it happens a lot with me at scans, with random students. They come up with weird, because the concept is totally lacking. Okay? And they blame the system. Okay, so what happens is, you attach a CSS file to the HTML file. So you go to HTML file and you open up the CSS rule. You say attach. This is link hai. Attach karoge CSS file ko. Browse karoge. Remember, this should appear. You're linking. You're not importing. You're linking. You're not importing. You get the point. In case at times अगर star appear हो रहा है, तो directly उसका नाम लिख दो. The other way is आप browse करो and just have to click दोबारा select करना एक बार दो बार select करना. It's a very weird thing I'm discussing, but I'm just trying to save your time. Start के बाद ना वो select नहीं हुआ होता. So you click here, you click here again. याद रखोगे? अगर ऐसा हो. These are very tiny things जो obviously once you've done with 4 to 5 to 6 papers, you will not face issues because आप practice कर चुके होगे. You would have come across many areas जहाँ you would have trouble shooting up हो चुकी होगी. अगर आपने कम paper practice किए होंगे तो there are more chances of you coming across with a problem जो आपने पहले नहीं face किए होंगे. Obviously, you need to practice. You really need to practice.
Sir,
Okay.
just a small question that there was this paper that said that how do you differentiate internal border from the external border in a CSS file?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Can I discuss because she's asking Pakistan में अगर point discuss कर चुके होंगे. She's talking about the internal grid lines and the external grid lines. Can we discuss that? Okay. Our next topic that we're discussing और जो हम discuss कर रहे हैं, all of you are going to practice when you go home today. You getting me? Okay. Our next topic is I will make a table, and in table we will talk about internal grid line and external grid line. Okay. In order to define the internal grid line, we will define it through TD. Okay, and external grid line through the table tag. So सबसे पहले मैं CSS में आता हूँ. I'm going to repeat. So I'm going to make a new tag. I'm going to make a new tag, and over here I will define is a table tag. Okay. Up table tag में what I will do is I'll come into box and I will define border, and I will define over here is solid. Let's say I will make it 4 point and I will make it blue. मैं implement कर लूँ मैं दोबारा explain कर दूँ. Let me implement it first. Apply किया. Then what I'll do is I will define over here is tag beta everyone is concentrating apart from TD. Okay, so TD define किया और TD में what I'll do is I will define over here is let's say dotted कर लेते हैं इसको. We'll just make it 2 points and we'll make it. Beta will join. You have to join again, okay? And we'll make it let's say red. Okay. Apply किया. I'll just save it. मैं इधर आता हूँ and you see what's happened. I have a border over here which has been defined as blue and have the inner border which has been defined as red. See beta.
Why don't we have internal borders जहाँ पे headings are? Top row or side row? TH.
Very good.
लेकिन हमने TD.
मैं ये select कर लेता हूँ. No all TDs. ठीक हो गया? बिल्कुल से वो TH था. Very good. अब देखो ऐसा ही क्वेश्चन अगर एग्जामिनर पूछ ले कंफ्यूजन की बात नहीं है. आपका कॉन्सेप्ट क्लियर है. You will tell the examiner that that is the reason why it's not happening, and this is what examiner comes up with. इसी सिलेबस में से डिफरेंट तरीके से क्वेश्चन पूछेगा. That's the way. Okay.
So what is meant by border collapse?
I'll just tell you. Okay, I'm coming to border class beta. If we want to edit first, let me ask a question. Let me answer a question. So, if I want to edit TD beta, I will simply come to CSS Style. And do you see this pen? You can click on this now, you can edit. Okay, so you click inside any tag. Again, I repeat, click inside any tag, go to CSS and click on this pen. You can edit. Right? This lecture probably is being recorded. Oh, yeah, it's being good. I will upload the second part as well. So, she just asked about border collapse. Yeah, if I press F12, we did not collapse the border yet. The borders have not been collapsed. What I mean by border collapse is, beta आप concentrate नहीं कर रहे हो. You fail to understand that this session is very different. CI is not being lenient. I've gone through 8 months of online classes which are not like active classes. Result बहुत खराब हो सकता है इसमें. Okay? मेरा अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह 80% A's आते हैं हमेशा. मगर I believe कि इसका काम हो सकता है and I don't want it, इंशाल्लाह नहीं होगा, मगर please don't do it. Okay? बहुत weird questions ask. Are you realizing it? No friends. Forget, if you have good friends, you keep the friends. If it's not wasting your time, shoo, go away. Just tell them go away. Frankly speaking, yeah, shoo. No, they're good friends. Not bad friends. Get my point? इस टाइम पे फ्रेंडशिप को ना देखो. Be a bit selfish about yourself. मैं बार-बार कह रहा हूँ. Are you with me? Okay. So, border collapse हम इस तरह करेंगे. Please now listen carefully. Now, border collapse के लिए I need to do is I will go inside the table, enter, and there is an option that says border collapse, and collapse. That's it. Border collapse, collapse. फिर हम नहीं करेंगे. हमने border collapse. जब collapse का होगा तब करना है. Now, what happens is if I do this, you would say, sir, the borders have not collapsed. But if I press F12, you see the borders have collapsed. You see now? The borders were every cell had its own border, but since I have applied the border collapse option, there is a single border between the cells. So borders have collapsed. You get the point? So another point is what you see is what you get. This does not happen every time. What you see is not what you get. Okay? Right? Just one minute, बेटा आप join back करोगे online students? Can you join back?
Yes, sir. We'll join back.
Yes, sir.
मैं बंद करता हूँ, join back करो. 3. Please join back.